Major news incoming for the Chicago Bulls as Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations Artūras Karnišovas definitely dropped some major news for the Chicago Bulls, giving us some insight into the future on what are the game plans for the Chicago Bulls going into the 2026 season. Hello all, my name is Isaias Jackson Jr. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Bulls Digest. Got a whole lot of good news coming from the Chicago Bulls, and I want to say it's great news. I know there's been some fans that are kind of on either side, on both sides of the fence. We're going to tackle both sides and see if Artūras Karnišovas is definitely doing something great for the Chicago Bulls in the 2026 season. However, we do got to get into the meat of the matter. 67.5% of you guys aren't subscribed. 32.5% of you guys are. We do appreciate you. Look, like I said last video, you feel 10 times better once you subscribe, like the channel, and you start seeing us a little bit more often, which is the Chicago Bulls channel. So we love to pretty much share in our emotions with you guys. We definitely, when you feel hurt, I'm pretty sure we're feeling hurt too. We're going to talk about it, and we want to share in that emotion, of course, with the videos we put out here. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also leave your thoughts in the comments as well, because we'll definitely get to it. We love to talk to you guys, and we love to have some fun here as well. So let's jump right into it. Of course, with Artūras Karnišovas' message to the Chicago Bulls, even after his exit press conference, well, after their play-in loss against the Miami Heat. Of course, he's trying to tell us the direction where the Chicago Bulls are going to go to into the 2026 season. And honestly, I am a little confident. I know we hear the same old song for not only just the Chicago Bulls exec, but that's just all around in sports. You know, we usually get the runaround on what the plans are, what is going to happen. 9 times out of 10, we usually end up disappointed. However, I do think AK has something nice building for the Chicago Bulls here. And it goes on to say, while the Bulls were impressive through the second half of the regular season, they still fell short as the 9th seed in the play-in tournament, losing to the Miami Heat 109-90. The belief was that Chicago's front office would emphasize youth and rebuilding as the Bulls managed to get back their 2025 first-round pick in the Lavine trade. However, Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations Artūras Karnišovas made it clear in exit interviews that Chicago will continue to try to be competitive. K.C. Johnson of CHSN reported the Bulls' outlook for next season, and this just came out from K.C. Johnson. He says the Bulls want to stay competitive, and quoting AK, the Bulls want to stay competitive. They are not interested in tanking in either season. And also, just moving forward on that, the Bulls want to stay competitive. Johnson said they want to focus on internal improvement, and they are not interested in tanking next season either. By all accounts, the 2026 draft could possibly be stronger than the 2025 draft. Then, of course, the fans have been calling for a full-fledged tank and rebuild for a few seasons, but it looks like the Bulls have other plans. Chicago has the 12th best odds to land the #1 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft, of course. I'm not seeing Cooper Flag in our future, but hey, who needs Cooper Flag where you have Montes Buzelis? I'm going to say that. Look, I'm going to be the one to voice that. If you disagree with that, hey, that's fine. But I will happily shout that to the mountaintops for now, at least, until we see Cooper Flag in the NBA. But Montes Buzelis has shined in a huge way for the Chicago Bulls. And honestly, when you see the great work that he's done right now and the talent, the youth that's on the team as well, and also what's going to happen in the offseason, because I believe that's what AK is hinting at. I know the fans, at least Chicago Bulls fans on one side of the fence, really didn't want to see the Chicago Bulls in the play-in. They wanted to see the Chicago Bulls lose a decent amount of games, get a better chance at that #1 pick instead of sitting at possibly number 12. You know, you can definitely would have been so much better, quote unquote, if you would have been in the Cooper Flag race this year. However, of course, as I mentioned before, not the case. And now we get to see how this team is going to develop, because you're hearing AK saying that he wants to be competitive. How competitive do you want to be? I don't think it's possible you're going to run the East, obviously. You still have the Boston Celtics. New York Knicks still look as good as they are. But you're not going to compete with the Boston Celtics next year in 2026 with the crazy amount of moves that's going to happen. But at least you can keep us close. At least we won't be able to see a play-in, in the near future. I think that's possibly the best case scenario for AK and what's going on in the offseason. That's why I fully believe there is something huge happening for the Chicago Bulls. He wants to be competitive. He wants to fight in 2026. Now it's just a matter of, what are you going to do? What are you going to get for Nikola Vucevic? Who are you going to grab out there in free agency? Because at first Derek Queen is cool to talk about once we were sitting pretty at that number 14, 15 slot. Now we have a little bit more options. You have Miles Turner, who obviously he's trying to show his worth, but he's going to be wanting the big bag too. Now it's just a matter of how much money do we have in that instance to give out to someone like a Miles Turner. But you have so many options to play with here. You already have your stars. You already know Josh Giddey is going to get paid. You already paid Patrick Williams, but I think every Bulls fan is in agreement with this. That probably wasn't the best choice. That probably wasn't the best choice to give Patrick Williams all that money, and it's probably best to just move on from him in that instance. But now the world is pretty much AK's oyster in this situation. I'm loving what the Bulls are doing here. I think he is emphasizing just growth throughout the offseason itself. You already talked to us and you already gave us your predictions and what you want to do for the 2026 season as it's going on. But let's back up a little bit. What are you planning to do in the offseason? What's going to happen when it's all said and done, once the NBA Finals is wrapped up? What's happening? Are you keeping Billy Donovan? It seems like you have so much faith in the man. However, you're looking at the fan side of things. Not a lot of people are happy with Billy Donovan. I'm not really a huge Billy Donovan fan. I would be much happier if the Chicago Bulls moved on from him, but doesn't look like that's the case with AK's comments there. And if we heard AK in his exit interviews, he wants to define the style of play. He wants to change the shooting profile. And of course, once you got rid of Patton, that kind of threw everything there. You kind of already gave us what you wanted right there. He wants to retain that 2025 draft pick, which he pretty much did. Roster building, of course, minimizing transition time, and focus on internal development. That's awesome. But in the offseason, we got to get this roster together. We got to see what the finalization of this roster is going to be before it's all said and done. And I think that's what the awesome part is. A lot of Bulls fans are really conflicted on the report as a whole, just because, as I said, we already heard the same song pretty much 24/7. This has been there's been multiple years the Chicago Bulls have been trying to inch themselves into a competitive, pretty much being one of the competitive teams in the Eastern Conference. And so far, I mean, just in the past 4 years, it's been a little depressing. They haven't amounted to their expectations at all. And so it turns into a big gut punch, for the Chicago Bulls. So I can understand completely why there's fans kind of not really sold on what AK is giving them right now. I'm still on the fence, but I'm willing to look on the brighter side of things. I'm looking to sit back and say, look, we've tried this numerous of times. And we've also, even with this year, we went the route of going young, just going much, much younger, trading away Zach Lavine and seeing what we could get out of our team. You saw in that second half what they can do. Let's add some more weapons. Let's add some more weapons to the team, and let's see what AK has in store. But it's just a matter of waiting till the offseason. But right now, with those words, and even hearing him in his exit interview, I am ecstatic to see what the Chicago Bulls have in store in the offseason, especially with AK being this pumped and being this positive about how the Chicago Bulls season is going to go in 2026. But I think we just have to, right now, keep the man at his word. Hopefully he sticks through with what he's been saying this past week and a half. And let's see the Chicago Bulls grow. Let's see some positivity come from not only the roster, but also from the coaching staff as well. Let's see some growth in the Chicago Bulls. I'm willing to stay positive, but are you positive in what AK has in store for the Chicago Bulls? Do you think the Chicago Bulls are going to grow to be a whole lot better going into the year 2026? Or how do you believe that right now this team isn't going to be as competitive as we all think they are because of how stacked the Eastern Conference is, and of course, because you're not sold on what AK is telling us right now? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.